Yo, what is up guys? So we're here showcasing off something pretty interesting today. This is going to be a Plant Dragon Invoked deck. And I know it sounds strange, and it is, because, well, I mean, mixing in all those archetypes, well, technically Invoke can be splashed into other things. But anyways, this is actually a pretty decent little deck over here. And the reason why I say it's pretty decent is because you will be able to have multiple negates. And on top of that, it's relatively consistent, and it doesn't seem like that there's that much cheese that is required to be played here. You don't actually even have to run the Predaplant. I'm talking about the Predaplant Link monster to actually pull off this combo over here. So what we're doing is actually utilizing the Muddy Mud Dragon to actually go ahead and make the first copy of the Dragon of Red Eyes. So that's how we're going to be making the first one with the Dark Magician, because if you use one of the materials that is required for it, that's the vanilla monster, you get to actually be able to pop certain cards. Now, if we're going first, there's nothing to pop. But in addition to that, we're going to be able to search off with the plant engine and get the Magicalized Fusion. So this is going to go ahead and allow us to bring out our second copy of the Dragon of Red Eyes. You could theoretically pull off 3 if you happen to go into the Predaplant, but it's not what I would consider super consistent to. But if we want to be technical, yeah, you could also run multiple Dark Magicians, and then you'd also have to be running technically Red Eyes to make this. But in this instance over here, a Macabre, we've got a negation with Gamma, we've got another negation with Ash, and then these two also have a negate each, and then this also has a negate. Depending on what your hand traps go ahead and open up. This guy was really cheesy, dude. He was playing Dragun with Cylinder Gendo Control. Gendo Controls are an actual thing, guys. It's actually not that bad. I know it sounds meme, but I actually made a video on it, and the deck actually looked pretty good. You just gotta go ahead and have not gone second. This is a deck where if you go second, yeah, it's just one of those decks, right? Unless you have evenly. But yeah, this is a really cool variant, and like I said, it's very consistent. You can actually open up multiple boards. The ideal one, I would say, it's triple Dragon of Red Eyes, but that would be very hard to pull off. You might sacrifice a Macabre in return for it, but I'd say it's worth it. But anyways, what it really comes down to is Needlefiber coming out into the TCG. That's huge. Obviously, Dragon of Red Eyes is just a card that is really difficult for a lot of different decks to deal with. We also technically have Evil Thorn over here, which allows you to go ahead and special summon more monsters. At the end of the day, don't worry about opening with this card, because at first I was like, oh wait, does it require this card? There's a lot of ways to go ahead and go into Evil Thorn, but it's absolutely not required for the play, because you can go Lone Fire into it. There's other cards that will just special summon themselves, like Magician Souls. You can also have the Jester Confit. It's just any monster that can special summon itself, just for, of course, more spammable boards. Ideally, though, you'd want level 1, because War Arthlau does let you search out pretty much the entire like combos that you'll be needing in your deck. But what's interesting with this is, in this instance, we happen to have 2 copies of Macabre and then 1 copy of Dragon of Red Eyes, whereas before we had 2 copies of Dragon of Red Eyes and then 1 Macabre. Unless your opponent has Winged Dragon or Raw Sphere mode, I'd say you best just say GG with this deck. But anyways, we got 2 more plays. This one's up against Altergeist, and he does happen to have some traps. This is a deck that is definitely a deck you want to go first with. However, if you happen to go second, there are some things that you can go ahead and try to do. And what I mean by that is you try to obviously go for your combo, and if that gets stopped, you can usually still, as a latch-ditch effort, you can go ahead and just use the Predaplant Verdant Anaconda, which you guys have seen my hero deck probably, and I use this card like in most decks now. Honestly, this card is just way too strong for a lot of different decks. I mean, you can instantly go into a lot of different things, which is quite nice. But really what it comes down to is this card just summons this card. Again, that's like as a latch-ditched effort if your play happens to fail. You have like 1 backup play. If your opponent happens to have like 3 negates, yeah, you're probably not going to be pulling off. But you can maybe play around 2 negates depending on what they negate with this, because again, you're able to basically spam the board with multiple boss monsters. It's going to go ahead and get stopped once again over here. Pretty much, though, it's like a Dragon of Red Eyes mixed in with an Invoked. The plant engine is there to suffice as, well, the whole plant engine is nice to also have, just because it lets you kind of have extra potential to be a little bit more resilient if your opponent happens to survive. In this instance, we also technically use some of like the Spore, and if Dandelion ever comes back in the OCG too, man, this would be quite great. But nonetheless, you look at this, call in Nibiru. I guess you can call Ash Blossom or whatever the case may be as well. But once again, it's kind of just standard little combo here. just go ahead and go into the plays for Lone Fire, and that's going to go bring out Spore. There's a lot of combination of other plays where Arthau is actually super great in the deck. And then also I wanted to mention one thing that could be good with this, because I did look at the deck profile. I'll give you guys the deck profile here in a moment, but I also wanted to kind of explain what other things could be another option if you didn't want to play, let's say, like Prohibition over here. Because Prohibition, well, it does technically stop some of the other hand traps in the game. I think that the Crossout Designator could be another great option as well, just because it lets you hit multiple things in response, because you're probably going to be playing those hand traps anyways. Like Ash Blossom is technically utilized in the combo for, of course, being there with the target for Needlefiber. So it goes ahead and reloads it. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, most of the time when you go ahead and open up this card, I honestly have played so many duels where I summon Dragon of Red Eyes and they just quit, because this card is legitimately OP. It pretty much is at 4,000 attack because you negate one thing and it becomes 4,000. And then on top of that, your opponent can't target it and it can't be destroyed by their card effects, and then it can negate anything. So like, it's not very fair. But if you have two of them out, I want to see a duel with three. Like I said, it's possible, but it's not what I would consider consistent over here. But anyways, let's go ahead and hawk right into the deck profile. I don't know why I showed this one over here. But this is the plant. Where is it? Dang, I just had it. It just didn't save on the default here. But it is the Dragon Plant Invoked. That's what it was called. So yeah, I gotta give shout out to my boy AllanTCG for building this deck, because I think we can maybe take a look at it and maybe improve it a little bit here. So one thing I did want to mention that I think would be a great addition to this deck is Effect Failure. The reason why is you're playing 3 War Arthau, and at some point you will summon a level 1 monster. And obviously, if you need the combo piece, you go for your combo piece, but if you don't need it, the other Where Arthau can activate as adding a Veiler to your hand, which gives you technically 1 extra negation, which I think is great. Like I said, I feel like if you decided to do that, you'd be able to play Crossout. Obviously, if we're kind of looking at TCG list, well, I'm not sure when we're getting this out. There's a Cross Out Designated. This card over here, again, it's only OCG, but you declare a card name, you banish one one card with that name from your deck. Until the end of this turn, the effects are negated, as well as the activated effects on the one that are on the field with the same original name. I like it. It's a great little card over there. It's kind of like Called by the Grave, essentially, which I think that you should definitely be playing in any deck that revolves all around like combo pieces. I think this is an excellent card to go ahead and just have in the deck. But maybe he's just really confident with this card because you can't obviously call by the Grave Nibiru, and I guess that's the thing that he's most worried about. But that could be an option as well. Just wanted to go ahead and mention that really quick. But anyways, onwards with the deck profile. So we don't actually play Red Eyes in here because we actually are using the Mud Dragon to substitute as material, which is quite nice. And so we've got 1 copy of Dark Magician, 1 copy of Psyframe Driver, then 1 copy of Destrudo, 3 copies of the Parliament Orthrus Scorpio, 2 copies of the Darling Cobra, just in case you go ahead and draw one. And then we have 3 copies of the Lone Fire, 3 copies of the Ash Feet Blossom, 3 copies of the Gamma, so this is actually basically another hand trap. And then we got the Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. We got 1 copy of Spore, World Chalice Guard Dragon, then 3 copies of Evil Thorn. This gives you just another plus monster. And then we have Glow Up Bulb, and then we have 3 copies of Jester Confident. This is just a free special summon, and then this is another free special summon. Plus, it can actually help you out with the Dark Magician, which is going to be utilized later for, of course, Magical Fusion, and then with the combo with the Muddy Mud Dragon. And then we have the Red Eyes Fusion. Like I said, I think that if you wanted to, you can play the Red Eyes Fusion, and if you want to play 1 more copy of Dark Magician, that would theoretically allow you to with when he ended with Macabre and the other card instead, you could have made the Predaplant. Although this has to be the very last play that you make, and then you would have triple plus. You'd have this card, but this card doesn't really do anything because it always dies because it only has 500 attack. Yeah, and then so we were at. We're talking about the Red Eyes Fusion, and so we also have Magical Ice Fusion, and then 3 copies of War Arthau. Again, I think adding Veiler to this deck would actually help out a little bit, just because again it lets you potentially add another card, and then that your Crossout Designators would be better, and then I think Called by the Grave would be excellent as well, depending on what you want to go ahead and remove. Because not everyone main decks Nibiru, that's how I feel right now, but everyone main decks Ash Blossom, you know what I mean? Anyways, next up, the 1 copy of Invocation, and then with the World Legacy Succession, of course, to get that free Monster Reborn. and then 3 copies of Prohibition. So like I said, I don't know, I just feel like Called by the Grave is better. It's just much more consistent because you don't know what hand trap that your opponent might have. And that's why I like that over this. Next up, though, we got 2 copies of Macabre, 3 copies of Dragon and Red Eyes, Muddy, Mud Dragon, then we got World Chalice Miko, and then the Boral Sword, Unicorn, Phoenix, the Jasmine, which allows you to tribute the plant, then go ahead and go for your Lone Fire, which then gets you your entire combo anyway. So basically, all you need to do is have 2 plant monsters, so you can go ahead and open it up with multiple ways, but Evil Thorn is like the easiest go-to card for that. Then we have Alistair, the Meltdown Invoker over here, and then we've got the Needlefiber and the Anaconda and the Karibo. For his side deck, you got all 3 copies of the Egyptian Gods. I like that, dude. But more importantly, Nibiru, the Lightning Storm, and System Down, and Red Rebo, I think, are the most important ones. This, I think, was more for memes. Maybe that was a different deck idea that he had. But anyways, guys, that is the Dragon, Plant, and Invoke deck. And once again, shoutouts, I'm gotta give credit to AllanTCG for building this deck. And I think it's cool. Again, I've been building so many decks just around summoning one of these. But when you can summon triple, or even double and a Macabre, I mean, it's hard to deal with the exception of Winged Dragon or Sphere mode. Unless you get Nibiru, but I guess he's good with that. He called that card against his opponent, but his opponent didn't have it anyways. But yeah, it's very difficult to deal with multiple Dragon of Red Eyes is really what it comes down to. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, drop a like on it. And if you are new here, hit subscribe, turn that bell so you don't miss out on new Yu-Gi-Oh videos. And if you guys want to send me other crazy Yu-Gi-Oh replays, like the Dragon and Plant Invoke deck, feel free to go ahead and do so. Send in the YRP file and the deck to AzneyesReplays@gmail.com. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one. I'm signing out. Peace.